Hello, and welcome to English Starline, the place where I share real stories to help you learn English, grow personally, and stay inspired. Today, I want to tell you something very real. It's not just a story, it's my story. The title says it all. I failed 3 times before I spoke English fluently. And yes, I really did fail. 3 times. I lost a job, I froze in an interview, I watched my younger cousin do something I couldn't, speak fluent English with confidence. I felt ashamed, I felt small, and I almost gave up. But something inside me said, no, this isn't the end. That's when everything started to change. I didn't have a teacher, I didn't have perfect tools. But I had a notebook, a cracked mirror, and a deep promise to myself. I will learn English, no matter what. If you're learning English now, if you feel stuck, scared, or like you're always behind, I want you to know I was there too. And I came out the other side. This is a graded reader made for learners at the A2, B1 level, so while you listen, you'll also be practicing your English. You'll hear real-life sentence structures, useful expressions, and, more importantly, you'll feel something. Maybe even something that changes you. So, take a deep breath, sit back, and let me take you on my journey, from failure to fluency. Let's begin. Part 1. The Fall, 3 Shocks in a Row. My name is Leo. I'm 28 years old, and I live in a small city in Malaysia. I grew up in a quiet neighborhood, the kind of place where everyone knows your name and nothing ever really changes. My parents run a small food stall, and I've always helped them since I was young. I never needed English to live my daily life. People around me spoke Tagalog, or our local dialect. English was something I saw in school books or movies, but not something I needed, or so I thought. At that time, I didn't understand just how much not speaking English was holding me back. In my heart, I always wanted more. I wanted to work in a big hotel, travel to other countries, meet new people, and earn a better income. But every time I thought about speaking English, my stomach twisted, my tongue felt heavy, my mouth stayed closed. So I stayed quiet, thinking that maybe it didn't matter. Then came the first shock. I was working as a cashier at a small grocery store near the town plaza. The pay wasn't great, but it helped me support my family. One sunny afternoon, a tourist walked in. He looked a bit lost but friendly. He picked up a few snacks and came to my counter. As I scanned the items, he smiled and asked, "Hey, can you tell me where the nearest ATM is?" I stared at him. I had heard the word ATM before, but my mind went blank. My throat tightened. My mouth didn't move. I just froze. After a long pause, he said, "It's okay, never mind," and smiled politely. My manager was nearby. She quickly stepped in, gave him directions in English, and apologized for the delay. After the customer left, she pulled me aside. She wasn't angry. She looked tired and sad. "Leo," she said gently, "you're a good worker, but we're getting more and more foreign customers. We need staff who can help them." I nodded, but I already knew what she was going to say. "We'll have to let you go next week. I'm sorry." I went home in silence that night. I told my parents it was just temporary, but I felt something break inside me. I had lost a job, not because I was lazy, not because I was rude, but because I couldn't speak English. That truth hit me harder than I expected. Just 1 week later, I got my second shock. I was walking past a new hotel not far from our market. There was a sign at the entrance that read, "Now hiring front desk assistant." My heart jumped. This was my dream job. Clean uniform, good pay, air-conditioned building. I went home, changed my clothes, and came back with a small folder holding my papers. When I walked in, the place was quiet and professional. The woman at the front desk looked up and smiled. "Hi there, how may I help you?" she asked in perfect English. I opened my mouth to reply, but nothing came out. My mind went dark. I forgot every sentence I had practiced. I felt my heart race. I tried again. Job. I apply. My voice was weak. My hands were shaking. She looked confused but tried to stay polite. Do you want to apply for a job? I nodded quickly. Yes, job, please. She gave me a small form and said, You can fill this out and leave it here. I took the paper, thanked her with a nervous smile, and walked out. I didn't fill out the form. I couldn't. I knew I wouldn't pass the interview. I sat on a bench outside for a long time. I felt like a complete failure. And then, just days later, came the third and hardest shock. It was my cousin Mateo's birthday. He had just turned 16, and something big had happened. He got a scholarship to study in Canada. The whole family was proud. We had a big dinner, and our aunts and uncles brought gifts. At the end of the night, Mateo stood up to give a small speech, but he didn't speak in Tagalog. He spoke in English. Thank you, everyone, for supporting me, he began. I'm so excited to start this new chapter in my life. I'll study hard and make you proud. His English was clear and smooth. He looked confident. He smiled as he spoke. I clapped with everyone else, but inside, I felt something sharp in my chest. Mateo was younger than me, much younger. And yet, he could do what I couldn't. He could speak English in front of everyone without fear. I couldn't even speak to one person at a hotel. That night, I went home and lay in bed without turning on the light. I didn't speak. I didn't touch my phone. I just stared at the ceiling. My mind kept repeating the same question. Why am I like this? Why am I so far behind? For 2 days, I stayed in my room. I didn't eat much. I didn't smile. I avoided my family. I felt ashamed of myself. I thought about my dreams, working at a hotel, traveling, having better opportunities. And for the first time, I truly believed those dreams might never happen. I thought, maybe I'm just not meant to have that kind of life. Maybe I'll always be the one who stays quiet. Maybe English will always be the wall between me and my future. And in those silent, lonely hours, I almost gave up. Almost. But something was about to change. Part 2, the turning point, the promise. It was the third night. My room was still dark. The air was heavy and quiet. I was lying in bed, fully awake, but too tired to move. I hadn't spoken a word to anyone all day. The light from the street outside came through the window, painting shadows on the wall. I stared at them, my eyes wide open, my heart feeling empty. Then something happened. A small thought entered my mind. It wasn't loud. It didn't sound like motivation. It sounded like truth. And the truth was simple. No one is coming to save you. That sentence hit me like a wave. No one is coming to knock on my door. No one is going to suddenly give me a job. No one is going to magically teach me English. No one is going to lift me out of this feeling of failure. If I don't change, nothing will. I sat up slowly. My body felt weak, but my mind was awake now. I turned on the small lamp beside my bed. It flickered like always. I looked around at my small room, plain walls, an old desk, a pile of books I never finished. Then my eyes fell on a notebook in the drawer. I had used it years ago for school. Most of the pages were still blank. I pulled it out, grabbed a pen, and sat down at the desk. I opened to the first empty page. I didn't know what to write at first. Then, without thinking too much, I wrote one sentence at the top of the page. I will speak English fluently, not someday. Today I begin. I read the sentence out loud. My voice was soft, a little shaky. I read it again, then again. Each time it felt a little stronger. I stared at those words. My grammar might not be perfect. My spelling could be wrong, but that didn't matter. What mattered was the promise I had just made, to myself. It was the first time I had written something not for school, not for work, not for anyone else, just for me. I looked around my room again. Nothing had changed, but I had. I stood in front of my cracked mirror. I looked at my own tired face. I whispered, "Hello, my name is Leo. I will learn English." It sounded strange. My mouth didn't like the shape of the words, but I didn't stop. I repeated it 10 times. Then I added a new sentence. I am strong, I can learn. Again, 10 times.
I didn't know what I was doing exactly.
Not for someone to teach me. I had to move now with what I had from where I was. That night, I didn't go to sleep right away. I stayed up for hours, writing and speaking. I wrote down every English word I could remember. I didn't care if it was simple. I wrote water, rice, walk, smile, job, happy, scared. Then I tried to use them in little sentences. I said them out loud. I looked in the mirror. I forced myself to keep going, even when I felt stupid. I wasn't waiting for motivation. I was creating it. By the time I lay down again, it was almost morning. My eyes were heavy, but my heart felt full. I had made a decision, a real one. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something new. Hope. I didn't know how long the journey would take. I didn't know how many times I would fail again. But I knew one thing for sure. I had started, and that was everything. Part 3. Leo's English Method. Real practice begins. The next morning, I woke up tired but full of energy. That might sound strange, but it's true. My body was weak, but my heart was stronger than ever. I remembered the sentence I had written the night before. I will speak English fluently, not someday. Today I begin. That sentence became my new rule. I knew I couldn't waste time. I needed to create a way to learn English that worked for me. I didn't have a teacher, an app, or expensive books, but I had something powerful: hunger, time, and a mirror. So I started building my own method. It had 5 simple steps. Each one helped me grow in a different way. And now I want to share those steps with you. Step 1, mouth before ears. Most people begin by listening or reading. That's okay, but I did something different. I started with my mouth. I knew I had to train my tongue and lips to say English words. I stood in front of my mirror, the one with the crack in the corner, and said, "Hello, my name is Leo." At first it sounded robotic. My voice was soft, like I didn't believe in myself. But I said it 10 times. Then I added, "I am learning English. I am not afraid." I said those lines again and again, every morning and every night. Slowly, they started to feel more natural. I wasn't just learning the words. I was learning how to be a speaker. My mouth got used to the sounds. My confidence grew just a little every time. Step 2, build an English wall. One night, I took some paper and tape and started writing simple sentences I wanted to use. I wrote, "Can you help me? Where is the bus stop? How much is this? I don't understand. Please speak slowly." I put the papers on my bedroom wall, one by one. The next day I added more. "I would like some water. I am looking for work. Nice to meet you. Do you have Wi-Fi?" Every 3 days, I added new sentences. My wall became full. Every time I looked up, I saw those sentences. I didn't just read them. I said them out loud. My wall became my silent teacher, always ready, always patient. Step 3, the 1-11 rule. This rule became my secret weapon. 1 hour, 1 topic, 1 result. Each day I chose one topic. For example, day 1 was introducing yourself. I spent 1 full hour learning just that. I watched YouTube videos. I paused and copied useful sentences. I wrote them down and said them in front of the mirror. Then I recorded myself and listened. At the end of the hour, I had one result. I could now introduce myself better than yesterday. Day 2 was asking for directions. I practiced sentences like, "Excuse me, how do I get to the train station?" I also practiced listening to answers so I could understand them. Day 3 was shopping at the market. Day 4 was ordering food. Day 5 was talking about the weather. Day 6 was describing your family. Day 7 was giving opinions. Each day I chose a real-life topic. I didn't move to the next one until I had at least 5 new sentences I could say confidently. This method helped me build real skills. I wasn't just studying, I was getting results. Step 4, think in English. This part was hard but important. Most learners translate from their native language into English. That makes speaking slow and difficult. I wanted to train my brain to think directly in English. So I made a rule. Everything in my head must be in English. I started small. I looked around my room and said in my mind, "This is my desk. That is my notebook. The light is on." I described things in simple sentences. While brushing my teeth, I thought, "I am brushing my teeth. The water is cold. I need more toothpaste." While walking to the store, I thought, "I see a dog. The sky is gray. I need to buy rice." It felt strange at first, but after 2 weeks, something amazing happened. I stopped needing to translate. English became my thinking tool, not just a subject. Step 5. Speak to yourself daily. This was one of my favorite practices. I didn't have anyone to talk to, so I talked to myself. In the shower, I said things like, "I am washing my hair. The water is hot. It feels good." While cooking, I said, "I am frying eggs. I like eggs. They are easy to make." While cleaning, I said, "This floor is dirty. I need a broom. Now it looks better." At first I felt silly, but no one could hear me. No one could judge me. And slowly my sentences grew longer. I started telling small stories. I talked about my day. I even gave fake weather reports like a news reporter. "Good evening. Today in Leo City, we have rain and strong wind. Please stay safe." These moments made English part of my real life. After a few weeks, I saw real progress. I could speak longer sentences. I stopped freezing when I opened my mouth. My mirror didn't scare me anymore. My notebook was full of words and sentences. My wall was colorful with new expressions. I was still learning alone. I still made mistakes, but I was moving forward, and most importantly, I wasn't scared of English anymore. This was not just study. This was transformation. And it was just the beginning. Part 4, First Breakthroughs. 3 months after the night I made my promise, I felt ready to try again. I wasn't perfect. I still made mistakes every day. But something inside me had changed. I no longer felt frozen when I heard English. I no longer stayed silent. My voice was still small, but it was strong enough to try. One sunny morning, I walked past the hotel that had rejected me before. I stopped in front of the entrance. I looked at the glass doors and remembered how I had failed the last time. My heart started to beat faster. For a moment, I thought about walking away. But then I heard my own voice in my head. "I will speak English fluently, not someday. Today." I took a deep breath and walked in. The same receptionist was there. She looked up and smiled. I smiled back and said, "Good morning. I'm here to ask about the job." My voice was calm. My words were simple but clear. She blinked in surprise and smiled again. "Your English has really improved," she said. We spoke for a few minutes. She asked me some questions. I answered each one slowly, carefully, but without panic. I told her I had been practicing every day. I told her about my English wall and my mirror practice. She laughed softly and said, "That's amazing." Unfortunately, the job had already been filled, but I didn't feel sad. Not at all. I left the hotel with a big smile on my face. I didn't get the job, but I got something better. I proved to myself that I could speak. That one moment gave me so much confidence. I wanted more. I wanted to keep speaking with real people. So I searched online and found a local English conversation group. They met every weekend at the community library. I was nervous to go, but I knew I had to do it. The first time I joined, I arrived early. My hands were sweaty. My mouth was dry. There were about 8 people sitting in a circle. Some were older, some were young, just like me. A friendly man named Armand welcomed me. "We're all learning here," he said. "Don't worry, just try." The topic that day was daily routines. I listened to the others speak. When it was my turn, I said, "I wake up at 7. I make coffee. I go to the market. I help my parents." That was it, just 4 sentences. But everyone clapped. "Well done, Leo," they said. I smiled. I felt like I had won a medal. I went back the next week. This time, I told a short story about a time I got lost in my neighborhood as a child. I used more sentences. I even added a little humor. The group laughed, and not in a bad way. They laughed with me. They understood me. I understood them. I belonged. For the first time, I didn't feel like an outsider when people spoke English. I felt like a part of something. Then came the biggest breakthrough of all. One day, I saw a small sign at a cafe near the tourist area. It said, "Help wanted, English required." I stopped and read the sign 3 times. My heart beat faster. The old me would have walked away, but the new me walked in. The manager was a tall woman named Jenny. She smiled and said, "Do you have any experience working in a cafe?" I nodded and replied, "Not yet, but I'm a quick learner, and I'm good with people." She asked me a few more questions. I answered them the best I could. I told her I was learning English every day. I told her about the 111 rule, the speaking practice in the English group. She listened carefully, then said, "You know what? I like your attitude. Let's try you out for a week." I almost shouted with joy, but I just said, "Thank you so much. I won't let you down." My first day at the cafe was scary. I had to speak English all the time, with customers, with coworkers, with Jenny. I made some mistakes. Once I said small coffee big instead of a large coffee. Another time I forgot how to say receipt. But I smiled through it. I kept going. Some tourists said, "Your English is nice." One even asked, "Are you from here? You sound so confident." I laughed and said, "I'm still learning, but thank you." That cafe became my classroom. Every day I practiced real English. Real greetings, real questions, real conversations. I learned fast because I had to. I didn't just speak English, I lived in it. And one day, while cleaning the tables, I looked around the cafe. I saw customers smiling, my coworkers chatting, and Jenny writing something at the counter. And I whispered to myself, "I'm really doing it." That was the moment I knew. I had crossed the line between learning English and using English. I wasn't just studying anymore. I was becoming fluent, and the journey was far from over. Part 5. Powerful Lessons Learned. By the time I had worked at the cafe for a few months, I had spoken more English in real life than I ever thought possible. But I wasn't just learning a language. I was learning lessons that would stay with me for the rest of my life. And these lessons didn't come from books. They came from mistakes, from effort, from showing up every single day, even when I didn't feel like it. The first lesson I learned was this: consistency is stronger than motivation. When I started, I was full of motivation. I woke up early. I practiced with energy. But after a few weeks, the feeling began to fade. Some days I was tired. Some days I was bored. Some days I thought, what's the point? But I still showed up. I still stood in front of the mirror. I still said my sentences. I still added new notes to my English wall, and little by little, I improved. Not because I always felt excited, but because I refused to stop. The second lesson was that speaking is a skill, not a talent. At first, I believed that some people were just good at languages. I wasn't one of them, but I was wrong. Speaking is like cooking or riding a bike. You get better the more you do it. You don't have to be born with it. You just need to practice. I used to watch fluent speakers and think, wow, they're so smart. Now I know. They just worked hard. They made mistakes. They practiced. And that's exactly what I was doing too. The third lesson was one of the most important. Mistakes are not your enemy. Silence is. In the beginning, I hated mistakes. Every time I said something wrong, I wanted to run away. I wanted the ground to open up and hide me. But I started to notice something. Every time I made a mistake and someone corrected me, I learned faster. I remembered the correct way because it mattered to me. But when I stayed silent, nothing happened. No mistake, no correction, no growth. So I changed how I saw mistakes. I started to welcome them. I even laughed at myself sometimes. Like the day I said, I'm very delicious, instead of, I like delicious food. The customer smiled and said, you mean the food is delicious? We both laughed, and I never made that mistake again. The fourth lesson came slowly, but it changed my life. Your past does not define your future. For a long time, I believed I was just a quiet boy from a small town. I believed I didn't have what it took to succeed in life. My school was not fancy. My family didn't speak English. I had no tutor, no travel, no special tools. But I had myself. I had time. I had determination. Every sentence I practiced proved something to me, that I could change, that I could grow, that I didn't have to stay the same. I also learned that English is not just a language. It is a bridge to more people, more ideas, more jobs, and more dreams. When I spoke English with a tourist and helped them enjoy their coffee, I was part of their story. When I explained our menu or gave directions, I felt useful. I felt powerful. I also began to feel proud of myself. Not just because I was learning English, but because I was doing something I once believed was impossible. The final lesson was simple but deep. Small steps matter. Every sentence I spoke, every mistake I made, every video I watched, every word I wrote on my wall, it all added up. I didn't see change in one day. But after 1 month, then 2, then 3, I had changed. My speaking was better. My listening was stronger. My fear was smaller. And one day, I caught myself thinking in English without trying. I was walking to the store, and I said to myself, it's going to rain. I should take my umbrella. That moment was tiny, but to me, it felt like a celebration. My brain had crossed over. These lessons didn't just help me with English. They helped me in life. Now, when I face a problem, I remember, be consistent, make mistakes, keep going, and believe in yourself. I'm still learning English. I always will, but I'm no longer afraid. I know now that fluency is not a finish line. It's a journey, and I'm walking it every day. And so can you. Part 6. Conclusion, a message to you. Maybe right now, you feel the way I once felt. Maybe you're afraid to speak. Maybe you think you're too old, too slow, or not smart enough. Maybe you've failed before, and now you don't believe in yourself. Maybe English feels like a mountain you can't climb. But I want to tell you something from the deepest part of my heart. You are not alone. I was there. I was the one who froze at the counter. I was the one who couldn't fill out a simple form. I was the one who clapped for my younger cousin, but felt ashamed inside. I was the one who sat in the dark, thinking I would always stay stuck. But I was wrong. The truth is, change begins the moment you stop waiting. The moment you stop saying someday. The moment you say, Today, I begin. You don't need perfect grammar to start. You don't need to speak like a native speaker. You don't even need a classroom or an expensive course. You just need the courage to open your mouth and speak, one sentence at a time. Start small. Say hello to yourself in the mirror. Describe your day in English. Write one new word on your wall each morning. Ask one question. Watch one video. Make one mistake. Learn from it. Then do it again tomorrow. And the next day. And the next. Because English is not a wall. It is a door. And every time you speak even a little, you push that door open. Every word is a key. Every sentence is a step forward. It may feel slow at first, but slow is still forward. You may not notice your progress right away, but one day you will look back and realize you've come so far. You'll speak to someone without fear. You'll help a tourist, join a conversation, apply for a job, or give a speech. And you'll smile and think, I did it. I really did it. And you'll know the truth. Fluency doesn't belong to special people. It belongs to people who show up. People like you. So promise yourself today, not someday, today. Make your own notebook. Write your sentence. Say it out loud. I will speak English fluently, not someday. Today I begin. Because your voice matters. Your dreams matter. And your story is just beginning. Thank you for listening to my journey. If this story helped you, please like, share, and subscribe to English Starline. This is a place for learners, dreamers, and doers. A place where we grow together. A place where English becomes more than a subject. It becomes a part of your life. This was my story from fear to fluency. What will your story be? I'll see you in the next video, right here on English Starline.
Thanks for watching English Starline. Subscribe now to keep learning English through the amazing stories of famous lives.